to read, whatever.
This is WWE Hall of Famer Tito Santana, and you are watching True Crime with the Bet Girl, the Playa, Dangerous Davis, and the president on the Monty and Pharaoh YouTube network. Arriba!
Thank you, Tito. I'm the Playa, like a pair of needle nose. But good evening and welcome to the 30th episode. 30 episodes, damn, of True Crime with the Bad Girl, the Playa, and the president. And I am Benny Scala, a.k.a. I'm going to correct that, the Playa. And with me, as always, is my partner in True Crime. She is a New England professional wrestling Hall of Famer. She is Archie's mom. And honestly, folks, I could spend the rest of the night listing all of her talents. But besides being one of the greatest heels of our generation, she's also a champion. I forgot all about this. Champion candlepin bowler. She's my very bad co-host and the one and only Boston bad girl, Brittany Brown. Brittany, how are you? Keeping warm there?
Oh, my goodness. It's very difficult. Lots of layers when I take Archie out.
Absolutely.
How are you
layers
doing?
For you or layers for Archie?
It's cold up here too. We have maybe in the teens the wind chill right now. So that's about right.
Well, and we're also again, speaking of Phil, we're joined by a guy who's as epic a baby face as the bad girl is as a heel. And he is the prince of personal training. He is Muscles Marinara, the Count of Monte Fisto. And I can only be talking about El Presidente, Phil Decesare. Phil, welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me back. This gets to be an addicting situation, pretty addictive. So I'm happy to be back. Yeah. And there's something about crime that kind of gets the blood. Yeah.
So we got to pay the bills here. And if I can figure this out, that wasn't it. Here we go. I'm still new at this producing thing. So quick word from our sponsor. True Crime with the Bad Girl, the Playa, and the President is brought to you by the Burbrower Law Firm. Folks, if you've been injured in a car accident, please reach out to our good friend Adam Burbrower at the Burbrower Law Firm. Adam and his crew do things the right way with great results. Not only is Adam a great attorney, but the dude has framed pictures of Ernie Ladd, Johnny Rods. I think now, Brittany, doesn't he have one of you in his office?
He does.
Yeah, how cool is that? That's very cool.
Very cool.
So if you see Adam at the community pool trying to nail that very elusive triple Lindy, we know it's not difficult. It's impossible. You'll notice Superstar Billy Graham on his back and Bret the Hitman Hart tattooed on his chest. Adam is not only the man of the hour, the man with the legal power, too sweet to be sour, he is also the excellence of elocution. Besides being a great guy, Adam is a true crime aficionado and avid WWF historian. Who else can get you a great settlement while articulating the WWF history of Basile Bata? I wonder how many of you out there remember that guy. Check out Adam at burbrowerlaw.com and follow him on Facebook. And don't forget to tell him the Bad Girl, the Playa, and the President sent you. Do you guys remember Basile Bata?
No, but here's something.
Okay, I'm dating myself.
In the 19th, was that 70s, Benny?
That was actually early 70s, yeah.
I remember Pete Reeves. There was a wrestler.
I was a skinny little guy.
Yeah.
And he wrestled barefoot. And he got he was one of the, I guess like I'm trying to think. Maybe like Pete Sanchez level, maybe like a little bit a notch above Pete Sanchez.
Who's a good worker, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, or like an SD Jones like that about that. And then, then he wasn't there that long. But, real quick, before we get into true crime, I mentioned candlepins, and you guys are both from Massachusetts. I have to ask you, I never have played candlepin in my life, but I've probably watched over the past 2 or 3 years about 100 videos. And I have my opinion, but who is the greatest candlepin bowler of all time, in your opinion?
I don't
Besides
know.
Brittany.
I don't know.
My uncle, Don Dwyer.
There you go.
The United States candlepin bowling champion before I was born, and he was in Sports Illustrated.
Really?
No question about it. Amen to that. And that's where you get it then, huh? That's
Yes.
wow.
The
Well,
faces
what happened, as soon as my sister and I could walk, we learned how to bowl because my nana and my uncle ran the bowling alley, and they ran it
I
since
tell you what, I
before we were
absolutely
born.
love it
That's awesome.
because it is so difficult. I mean, you can throw a, in real bowling, you hit the head pin like flush on, you're getting the double pinochle, the 4, 6, 7, 10.
Yeah.
At least you're getting a 6 count. Candle pin, you can get one. You can literally get 2 pins. I think I've actually seen one just chopping up the head pin.
You could practically bounce off a pin and not even knock it over in candle pin,
I know.
Yes. Gutter balls can be a frequent occurrence sometimes.
Yeah, the guy that I've seen the most is Tom Ulster.
Yep.
And and it looks like, I've seen like over the years, the guy was at the top for a long time, wasn't he?
I believe so. Very long
time.
Was,
yeah. But it's interesting. We obviously, that was something that we watched on television here, and we also got the other. What was it? Was it called the PBA with the bigger one? Was that early?
That was I think for me, I think it was 3:30 Saturday afternoon. It was
ABC maybe.
It was Chris Schenkel and Billy Whalo. And then Billy Whalo got replaced by Bo Burton, Nelson Burton Jr.
Pretty good memory, man.
Oh man, no, trust me. I bowled in a league on Saturday, and I came home, and I actually, the alley would throw away like the bad pins, like it had a little nick on them, and I knew they threw. I'd go in the back and pick them up. Before long, I had a set of 10 in my basement. I took a couple of couch cushions, and we had a pretty long basement, and I just practiced for a little bit after I got home, and then the pro tour was on. Yeah, Saturday was bowling day.
Yeah, I remember.
And wrestling too, of course.
Candlepin in the morning, bowling in the afternoon, wrestling right around noon or 11 a.m. Yes. And then Creature Double Feature later in the day on Channel 56. That was our deal.
Those were definitely the days. So, I think let me just give me 1 second here. Alrighty. So when we covered the Scott Peterson case, we did have a survey to see who could replace Shooter McGavin as the poster boy for Pieces of Shit cereal. And in the spirit of transparency, I really have to apologize. I major fail. What's that?
Oh, nothing. I hit a button. I didn't mute something.
Oh, okay. I got to apologize for not including tonight's subject, Drew Peterson. Not only could this guy be the new piece of shit frontman, but his smug visage could be he could be included in the Webster's Picture Dictionary under pieces of shit. Now, the bad girl is going to give us the facts of this case. Although it's about pieces of shit, maybe we should call it droppings of the case. Anyway, bad girl, the mic is all yours.
Well, Drew Peterson was born on January 5th, 1954 in the Chicago suburb of Bolingbrook, Illinois. Hey, yesterday was his birthday. I would like to say happy birthday, but I won't because he's such a
I'm going to say happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear POS. Happy birthday to you. And not many more. All right, there we go. Sorry.
He is something.
He just turned 71, and if you've seen recent pictures of him, I don't know if you guys have seen, he was before a judge, I think, within the past couple of months.
How'd he look, Benny?
He looked every bit of 71 plus. Prison has not been kind to him. The guy was always like, when you saw him on the news or in an interview with Larry King, guy was always dressed to the nines.
Yeah.
Well groomed, nice, hair, every hair in place, and no, he looks like a tired old man.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for him, but.
Yeah, he can't be well liked in there, No. Not that anyone is well liked, but particularly, people like him, I don't think are very well liked. So,
especially an ex-cop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and a dirty one, obviously, as we're going to get into.
We're going to get into that in a second. But
yeah. But
so He joined the U.S. Army upon graduation from high school and served in the military police. He was part of a specialized unit that provided protection to high-ranking government officials. Imagine
Somebody,
this smug bastard.
What's that, Brittany? I'm sorry.
I said, imagine this smug bastard
Right.
providing
And
protection to.
I watched so many YouTube videos on this guy, I lost track, but somebody said that he was actually he was guarding President Ford at one point, and President Ford tripped.
Yeah.
And there was only one guard that laughed, and it was him, of course.
Of course.
No.
I think it might be a fib.
How shocking.
Shall I pick up? Or no, go right ahead.
Upon completion of his military service in 1977, he joined the Bolingbrook PD. The following year, Peterson was assigned to the Metropolitan Area Narcotics Squad, and in 1979, believe it or not, he was named Police Officer of the Year. Can you imagine, you guys?
I can't at all. It's like Captain Lou Albano winning Manager of the Year when, you've got the Wizard and Arnold Skoland, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah. I mean, some things are just unexplained.
So he married his high school sweetheart, Carol Brown, and no relation to myself.
I was going to ask that. I'm glad you brought that up.
No relation. And so this was in 1974. They divorced in 1980 when Brown learned that Drew was discharging his firearm outside the home.
I think he did a lot of that. A lot of assault with a friendly weapon.
I like the metaphor here. If you're into Kiss, it would be called Love Gun.
There you go. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Great song.
And they had 2 sons together. He seems to like to have children with everybody, it seems.
Yeah, he was, definitely spread the wealth or whatever,
One of those, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he then married Vicki Connolly in 1982. They operated a bar together in nearby Romeoville. Vicki had a daughter, Stacy, from a previous marriage who left the home as soon as she turned 17. Both Stacy and Vicki alleged that there were recurring incidents of domestic violence. Per Vicki, Drew told her that he could kill her and make it look like an accident. She divorced Peterson in 1992 when she learned he was dating future wife, Kathleen Savio.
It almost seems like he looked at this as like, when you lease a car, after every 3 years,
right?
You get get up to 36,000 miles and you trade it in.
Yeah.
He's okay, I'm tired of this one. Let's go to the next. I mean, he was if nothing else, he was a serial cheater for sure.
Yeah.
But although he upped the ante now.
Yeah. It's gonna get worse and worse for this guy and for the women in his life, more so,
Right.
That's really the focus.
Yeah. So he was indicted by a grand jury in 1985 for alleged wrongdoings in the course of his duties as an undercover narcotics officer. He was terminated from the police department, but was eventually reinstated, albeit as a lower position. That's so weird.
Yeah, supposedly he, I guess he didn't report a bribe. And, in wrestling parlance, he went into business for himself, which was a big no-no.
How shocking.
Yeah, right?
Gee, you never hear that with cops around here.
I don't know how he was able to get his job back, but somehow he convinced the grand jury to reverse it, drop the charges. I mean, he is, I mean, and we'll get into this. The guy is a very charismatic, persuasive guy.
Yeah, he is. And again, and an edge of, again, we'll use the N word that we used last week to describe Dahlia. There's that narcissistic quality, certainly to this guy, as well, and I saw some footage of him doing the perp walk, and you guys might have seen it too. I think it was probably on CNN, and it was national coverage, right? As this guy's doing the perp walk, he's got one of those old camcorders up, and he's videoing everything going on around him as he's walking in, with the police to the police station. It's amazing, Again, that was the version of the selfie and the phone pointed towards you back then, and
right.
Huge. As I'm talking about this, Michael Proctor's on my TV, the state police Michael Proctor of the Karen Reed case, and he's the disgraced one who had, over the course of his texting, has said some very vile things about the defendant, and certainly was not able to have any type of professionalism or objectivity,
Now, Phil, when does that start up again? Is that April now?
Well, what they're doing now, Benny, is they're looking to bring him above or in front of the board, the state police board, for disciplinary action, which potentially could be termination. But still, they're trying to. The prosecution is still really trying to unfairly weed out these very important, really good witnesses who have testified already previously and very effectively testified to the defense of Karen Reed. So, they're really, I think, they're kind of, I think they're nervous, and they're pulling out all stops. And ultimately, the trial is going to be, I think, later. It's going to be more towards spring now, I think, is what we're looking at.
All right.
So
yeah, can't wait for that one.
Oh yeah, I'll be going down there a few times for sure.
Well, you can be our roving reporter.
Just gonna say,
might even trim up
there
for that.
There we go. And I'm sure Dangerous Dave will be making his way down there as well. I'm sure.
Well, I hope so. Maybe we'll get a coffee or something. That'd be cool. I'll have a little party.
That would be excellent. Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
True crime live.
So,
live on location.
Go too.
Yeah, there you go. That'd be great.
I've never been down there, so I might as well. I'm close enough. I think I'm like 35 minutes.
It was 20 minutes from work for me. It was great, 22 minutes or something. So it's like a no-brainer for sure.
Nice.
Totally.
Nice. Good.
Yeah. But same. Right. But this guy is cut, and they're cut from the same cloth. These two, Dahlia from last week, and this guy Drew this week, and the charm factor can be very high, obviously, and but by the same token, when you see through the visage, a great word you used, Benny, earlier, of Drew Peterson, what you really see is someone who is self-absorbed, very fearful. Obviously, there's a whole lot of fear behind that too, despite the confidence that's being projected. But we'll get into it a little more. But yeah. Interesting, man. Totally interesting.
I think both of them, they don't look at, they look at people solely as a means to an end, if I can play amateur psychologist.
Yeah. Well, I'm sitting on a couch. You can certainly do that. Yeah. I think that's the case. Yeah. The people are objectified really in this situation, and are not seen for having intrinsic value, and are pretty much cast aside. Would that they were just cast aside, the fates of potentially two of his wives, as we'll discuss, certainly far worse than just being rejected or sent away, but
right.
Yeah.
Definitely. So Drew marries Kathleen Savio on May 3rd, 1992, which is less than 3 months after his divorce from Vicky Connolly. Kathleen Savio was an accountant, and the couple lived in Bolingbrook. They had 2 sons together, sounds familiar, and lasted until 2003. So she lasted longer.
Yeah,
the police were called
11
to
years.
Savio. Yeah.
It's like
to the
Bruno's
Savio
title
Peterson.
It is.
We got to convert everything into wrestling, right?
Yes, there has to be.
So we know what we're talking about, right? Otherwise, we don't know.
Right. It's a good reference point. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So the police were called to their residence 18 times between 2002 and 2004.
Now here's what I don't get. You guys, weigh in on this, please. I heard that the police were there 18 times. I never heard that. And I've seen pictures of her, and she had some nasty bruises. Why wasn't he ever taken in? I mean, a little bit of little bit of bias there. I mean, he's a cop. His buddies are coming in, to investigate.
Exactly.
Is there really justice there?
Absolutely not. Not for her.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the fact that it's like, by the 15th time, I'm sure Drew thinks, well, I'm literally bulletproof. These, if I've survived 14 of these and I'm still out of jail, I guess they're not going to do it.
And I don't know if this was preceded the time, Benny and Britt, where automatically the police would have to bring someone in if they were called on a domestic, and then most of the time it would be the man brought in. So again, and we're talking now just in the law, one time responding to a domestic, generally the male party might be removed and processed, but this happened 18 times. 18 times. Can you imagine?
In 2 years.
Times. How do you document? I'd love to see the documentation about that, how they handled it. Yeah.
I would love to see it.
Yeah. Obviously, there was a case of violence and that sort of thing, but also it seemingly there was a case where children weren't returned on time, I guess, according to the arrangement or what have you. So that sparked some of the calls too, but still, it's such an excessive number.
Right.
Totally. In a short amount of time too. It's not like it was 18 times throughout the marriage. It was just 2 years.
It's like once every 3 weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder how many times they really were called throughout the marriage. That's what I'd like to know.
Right.
I can only imagine. But on November 14th, 2002, Kathleen wrote to the Will County State's Attorney's Office, fearing for her life. Her letters were not answered. How shocking.
How sad, though. Like this woman, you have to be absolutely terrified to think. I mean, your husband's a cop. I'm sure he told her that he could kill her and make it look like an accident. I mean, at this point, this lady's fearing for her life, and she's begging these people for help, and they did nothing for her.
They take care of their own. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, kudos to for her to keep trying, at least in terms of calling and trying to get some help here. And again, each call is documented, so this is just going to be paying dividends in the future and helping, I think, helping this case against him, which really in total, and again, we'll discuss how this case set precedent, but, every element of evidence is very important in this, okay? Especially considering two of the main victims are gone now, and can't be reached,
All right.
Yeah.
Sadly. So he gets back to his old self and begins dating a 17-year-old hotel receptionist named Stacy Ann Coles in 2001. While he was still married to Savio.
And for the record, he wasn't 18, Brittany, was he?
No, he was 47 and she was 17.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being 17. Oh my God, that is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, what could you possibly have in common at 40, almost pushing 50? What do you have in common with somebody who's still in high school?
I just
totally
don't know, man.
Ridiculous. What's funny is, so my mother was 30 when she had me. So when I was 17, she would have been 47. Like, hello, that's disgusting. And my father was 3 years older. He was 50 when I was 17. That's disgusting.
I mean, you think about it, 5 years prior, she wasn't even a teenager. I mean,
so we have to look again at the situation here, because can you really imagine the situation where this creepy guy goes to the father and asks permission, and for this father to grant the permission for this relationship to occur? Again, maybe just a testament to the power that he might have locally, testament to the personality or the charm, or a testament to all of that, really, So I can't even imagine the situation,
I mean, do you think the father kind of just caved in because he thought, man, this guy's an influential cop. If I don't say yes, he's going to make our lives a living hell, or maybe,
I gotta wonder because it's not the backwoods we're talking about. We're talking I think a suburb of Chicago. We're talking about
it is. It's suburban Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. So this is not the backwoods here, where things are different. So, and I think Chicago has a history of corruption anyway, in so many facets. But that's another story. But again, just the power that he projects. Maybe doesn't even necessarily wield, but he projects that he has. So again, he was great at selling it. He really was. Great at selling.
Brittany, help me out here, though, because you're a female. I mean, I get we have our midlife crisis as men, right? We get the hots for an attractive, young girl. I mean, although that's way too young. Oh. But what could a girl that age, unless she's got daddy issues, what could she possibly see in somebody that old?
I can't. I mean, that basically would have been the same situation as if I was to date one of my father's friends, which that's disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being at the yacht club with my father on the weekends when I was 13 years old. The last thing in the world I was doing was looking at his friends. Right. I mean, I was looking at the turkey they were roasting under the sand in the spit, and watching the boats go by. I certainly wasn't checking his friends out.
And listening to yacht rock. Grooving to, some Jimmy Buffett and other yacht rock.
Feels right.
Yeah. I love Starbuck, Benny. Starbuck. Love that tune. 1976, I believe.
Yes, sir. You are correct.
Yeah.
I was, of course, listening to Led Zeppelin.
I don't get Brittany. I mean, I understand from the man's side, although I think that was, 17 is definitely way over the line. But, a very attractive 17-year-old girl, somehow finds this guy desirable. I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't either. You got to be special. You got to be special. Let's just say it that way.
Well, I guess so.
So when he was 49, he married her. She was 19. This was October 18th, 2003. 8 days this time after his divorce from Kathleen. 8 days after it was finalized.
Yeah.
Yep. You heard that right.
The man, I tell you what, the man is a mover. He does not waste any time. He goes right from one to the next. I mean, even Ric Flair I think he had breaks in between, right?
Right.
Yeah. No kidding.
Oh,
yeah,
he gave himself a little bit of a rest. This guy's going, right from one territory to the next.
It's like a froggy hopping on these lily pads.
Right.
I mean, my God. So this poor Kathleen Savio, her body was found March 1st, 2004, in the dry bathtub of her master bedroom. This was less than 5 months from the finalization of their divorce. Her death was initially ruled as an accidental drowning by a coroner's jury that included a police officer who personally knew Peterson.
And didn't Drew bring some neighbors in with him to get in, or somehow he brought witnesses, I guess, with him to make it look like, that she was just discovered, So, very much plotting and very much trying to use that toxic personality to control the situation, to create a situation, really, by feigning the surprise along with these, with these neighbors. And so obviously a lot of thought goes into to his stuff here for sure.
Jason he and Dahlia would have made a great couple.
Chicago and corruption go together like Mexican water and diarrhea. That is a great quote. I love that.
Good stuff, Jason.
That is excellent.
Yeah.
But I heard that within the determination of it being an accident, they made it within 30 minutes. How do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you're at a cop's house.
Yeah.
And the other thing I heard was that Stacy, they wanted to question Stacy about this, and they let Drew sit with her during the question. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Wow.
It's like, and again, the Karen Reed case when the homeowners, when the McCabe's, the McCabe's were there, but when the Alberts were being interviewed along with the McCabe's, they're all being interviewed together rather than separately, as is protocol. So
you always put them in separate rooms. You want to compare the stories.
So again, in this case, like too, a breach of protocol and police protocol. So, these are common occurrences in these, in these sorts of crimes.
But I mean, don't you think, Bill, it's because of who Drew Peterson, the fact that it was Drew Peterson? If it was somebody else, that wouldn't have happened.
No.
A non-officer, meaning.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
I totally agree. Yeah, it's crazy. So Stacy and Drew had a son and a daughter. Several days after their 4th anniversary, Stacy now was reported missing by her sister Cassandra.
Yeah.
Drew claimed that Stacy had called him at 9 p.m. that evening to tell him that she had left him for another man and that her car would be at the airport. Good one.
Okay, so I got to call total bullshit on this one on his part. I mean, that goes without saying, but I had heard something that at some point she wanted to go out with her friends. And, I guess he found out where she was going. And for a while, it was like just a bunch of friends. And he patrolled the restaurant, eventually got out of his squad car and just walked right in and sat right next to her, and then glared at everybody at the restaurant. I got to think that, with his personality, if she said to him, I'm leaving you for another man, do you not think that Drew Peterson would have went to every last corner of the earth to track her down?
God, yeah.
Most definitely. He'd be creeping on her, everywhere, every moment.
Right. I mean, and being a cop, he'd have the access to probably, easily find her. The way he's saying it is, she's saying, honey, I'm leaving you for another man. Okay. Like, that didn't happen.
Yeah. By the way, my car's at the
personality.
Airport.
Yeah. And again, a testament to his ego, thinking that he can go in while on duty, not only circle the parking lot and be a nuisance out there, but come in and sit down, and now bringing other witnesses into the situation, hearsay witnesses even too, and try to intimidate them and just act like a total creeping goofball. I mean, I don't mean to say he's not malevolent, because he is, but just, again, just a testament to the ego, thinking he can get away with it. And, and up until this point, he's gotten away with a lot. A lot.
Yeah,
I mean, she's when did Savio died in 2004, right?
Yep.
And I mean, so he's a free man for at least like 4 years.
Yeah.
Yep. So Stacy's disappearance eventually led police to re-look at Kathleen Savio's quote-unquote accidental death. Savio's body was exhumed and underwent forensic examination on November 16th, 2007. Michael Baden, a former New York City medical examiner who conducted the examination at the request of Savio's relatives and Fox News, concluded that she died of drowning following a struggle when her body was placed in the bathtub. How shocking.
Yeah.
Postmortem photos showed extensive bruising and scraping to her back, torso, and face, as well as a large unexplained gash in her scalp. Will County State's Attorney James Glasgow told the press that after examining evidence in the new case, he believed that the death was a homicide staged to look like an accident. On February 21st, 2008, Glasgow announced that a pathologist had determined that Savio's death was, in fact, a homicide, adding that the death had been investigated as such since reopening the case following the exhumation.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
One thing I want to backtrack real quick for a second. I forgot to say that at one point after Savio and Drew got divorced, that Drew was living in the basement of the house, sleeping with Stacy, while the Savio was upstairs with the kids.
That's right.
Yeah,
I
crazy
forgot
stuff.
about that.
I mean,
How sick is that?
Yeah.
Again, it's a power thing. I think maybe it's a power thing, or maybe it's just the kink thing, and it's just
I
it all
think
goes
it was.
together.
I think he really wanted total control because when he bought a house with Stacy, he bought it right down the block from the house that that he and Savio lived at. I mean, so he could always keep tabs on her.
Yep.
What a sick guy.
Oh, there's Dave. Hey, Dave. Dave's in the chat room.
Dangerous Dave.
So
hello, Dave.
Real quick to everybody who's out in the chat, we're calling you the usual suspects. If that's okay, that's if you have a different name, maybe suggest it. But I like the usual suspects.
Well, in the context of crime, in the context of crime, it's perfect.
Right. Or the grand jury, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
I like that too.
Yeah, the grand jury. Whatever they decide.
Yeah. Let's take a vote. So on April 11th, 2008, Drew Peterson appears on Larry King Live with his attorney, Joel Brodsky. This is prior to his indictment for Kathleen Savio's murder. For the entire interview, Drew lied and Brodsky swore to it.
Wasn't that what Gorilla Monsoon used to say to Heenan? Like he lies and you swear to it or something like that?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But he was, he was so smug and arrogant.
Wow.
I mean, everything out of his mouth it was like my cousin Vinny when they woke him up and he said, everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you. I mean, he didn't say one iota of truth.
Quick rock and roll reference, if I may. Peterson's attorney, Joel Brodsky, Brodsky's the name of a rock and roll photographer who was known for taking the young lion pictures of Jim Morrison, those iconic ones. And they said Jim only looked like that for 10 minutes and never did again, but he got the best pictures of Jim Morrison back then that really launched the doors.
Great bit of trivia there.
Yeah, Joel Brodsky, same spelling, same everything. Obviously not the same guy, but yeah. So it made it easy for me to remember, actually. But rock and roll reference.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
So on May 7th, 2009, Peterson was indicted by a Will County grand jury and arrested for the murder of Savio. Bail was set at $20 million. In October 2009, Peterson sued J.P. Morgan Chase for revoking a home equity credit line that he wanted to use to pay legal expenses, claiming his income of nearly $109,000 per year was not sufficient. In July 2010, Judge White ruled that Peterson would remain in the Will County Jail for the remainder of his trial and appeals process. Prosecutors argued he could pose a danger if released, which I totally agree with.
Yeah,
can you imagine what he would have done?
Serious bail.
Yeah, no kidding, but deserved, in my opinion. So on September 6th, 2012, Peterson was found guilty of the premeditated murder of Savio. Jurors admitted that the most compelling evidence was based on the hearsay statements allowed under Drew's law. On February 21st, 2013, Peterson was sentenced to 38 years in prison for the murder of his third wife. He was incarcerated at Menard Correctional Center in Chester, Illinois, but later moved to the FCI Terre Haute in Terre Haute, Indiana. Within a month, he was attacked by another prisoner who hoped to sell his belongings on eBay. I love it.
I can't imagine the guy was very popular or is very popular in prison.
Definitely not.
No. It's he's ultimately now, at least, he's in very high security prison. So I think he does get contact with inmates, but I don't know how much he does, during the course of a day. All his neighbors are murderers and child molesters, so it's not a very happy neighborhood.
Right in all he blends.
Yeah.
Yeah, but where he's a cop, and like we said at the beginning, where he's not only a cop but a dirty cop.
Yeah.
Like, what other prisoner doesn't want to say that? Yeah, I took care of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, he was an undercover narc.
I
mean, that can't endear him to the prison population.
Yeah.
And you know what? Yeah. Even if all that weren't a consideration, just his personality and his look, his visage, I would say, his countenance, his demeanor, just that smug look, that punchable face kind of thing. It
is a punchable face. Thank you for saying that. I thought it was me, but yeah.
Yeah. Someone who has a punchable face just resigned his position in Canada, by the way, and I'm very happy. But that's another story.
I just saw that.
Mr. Trudeau.
Mr. Trudeau.
Oui, au revoir. man.
See you soon.
So after a number of appeals on September 21st, 2017, the Illinois Supreme Court upheld the conviction.
Yay.
On February 9th, 2015, Peterson was charged with attempting to put a hit on James Glasgow, the Chicago area lead prosecutor, in his murder trial after a fellow inmate tipped off prosecutors to the plan and wore a wire to capture evidence against Peterson. And
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think that Peterson was 5,000% sure he wanted to kill this? Yeah. Okay.
I think so. I think he was, and he was 5,000% stupid too.
Yep. Sorry about that, but it was important.
That was legit. I like that.
In May 2016, he was found guilty of solicitation of murder and solicitation of murder for hire. He was subsequently sentenced to an additional 40 years in prison.
Oh my!
This guy, I mean, I've watched a number of his statements. I mean, a lot of times these people, like a DA tries to stay impartial or sound impartial. You can tell this guy despises Drew Peterson.
Oh yeah,
and he was a badass. I mean, he was a bulldog.
And how could they not despise him, though? Look at the way he comes off, the way he acts, the way he thinks he's superior to everybody else.
Yeah,
and it worked for a long time. That's the sad part.
I know. It usually does with cops, sadly.
Yeah.
Sadly. So Stacy Peterson's remains have never been found, nor has Drew ever been tried for her murder. How sad is that?
I don't get that. I guess, is the logic that he's already got two, he's never going to see the light of day. But I mean, doesn't that bring some closure to her family?
It would, and her sister, I think, has been really vigorous in her efforts to try to find her and her whereabouts too. In fact, they might have had a lead, and I think they had a lead. They know at the very least that they discovered the remains of body in a local waterway, and she maintains that it's very plausibly, it very well could be the remains of her sister, but efforts to retrieve this. And this was done with, it's not like she or anyone dove down, but they had a camera or something that had gone down, and they believed that they saw a human skull overturned amongst some other remains. So there's potential there, for some discovery, so I don't think it's over yet.
Now, do you think, I think I already know the answer to this, but do you think Drew will ever, fess up?
No, I think he's going to go right. No, I agree, Brittany. I don't think he could. Again, these types of personalities do not admit when they're wrong, when they've made error, or anything like that. I mean, their whole ego is just built upon this, and admitting that is the underpinning of the ego of everything there. So he would collapse as
I don't see him as one who's going to experience a religious conversion in prison, and a la David Berkowitz, and
right. It's not a common thing, and amongst certain people who have certain illnesses, and I think Dahlia DiPolito is of the same mode. I don't know that they can be reformed or redeemed as far as their journey here on Earth. I mean, I can't judge beyond that, but
she'll never own what she did. I can't imagine she would.
Right. And in these cases, that can go a long way, to even to the victims and the victims' families, and to everyone else, even involved in the court. That can go a long way into, I think, helping heal some wounds. Never going to totally heal, but at least help a little bit.
I do hope they, if they pursue that. I saw the same thing, that her sister's actually tracking this body, and it's it seems like there's a body in a certain location. I don't know what would be involved to prove, get the skull and prove that it's her.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I would think if they did, I would like to think that they would go forward and prosecute him. I mean, he just turned 71.
Yeah,
he doesn't look very good. I mean, if they're going to do it, they better do it soon.
Yeah. No, you're right on that too. It would be nice if he were ultimately held to account. Did anyone see the interview he had with Ashley Banfield? She was one of the. She's a crime, a well-known crime journalist, and she had such great questions for him that he just, he couldn't help but ramble and reveal his hand time after time. I mean, seeing that interview alone, without any of all this evidence, I think you could reasonably conclude that he is guilty of much and incapable of owning any of it, at all. So
was that the one? I know there was one. I forgot who was interviewing him, but she referenced a polygraph that he took, and I mean, why did it say this? I don't know. He completely, I mean, he failed the polygraph, but he completely discredited it.
Yeah. Yeah. If he were smart, he wouldn't have taken it. But this misperception, this idea that these people have, that they're greater than their that they can't be beaten, and just leads to ultimately to many errors and ultimately to their own undoing and capture. Brittany, you referenced each time when you were noting the children he was fathering as this journey continued, and I can't help but feel really sad for these kids who have to deal with the situation here too, through no fault of their own. Have to deal with just horrible situations, and so I think of them when I
imagine having a father that's a murderer, and then a father that's a murderer of your mother, and now you have no mother and no relationship with your father because he's in jail for the next 78 years.
Totally. So I'm totally, I feel for them too, as well as the family of the victims. But as Benny said, even on the outset regarding this guy, there's something, I don't know, I characterize him as at the very least, highly unlikable, highly unlikable at the very least.
Very.
So,
extremely.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I don't know if you've, I've seen his son, Stephen.
You have,
a couple of interviews, and he's the polar opposite of his dad.
Is he?
Wow.
He's actually helped raise the last two children from Scott and Stacy, and I believe he actually also helped raise the ones, Savio, the two sons he had with Kathleen Savio. And I actually saw a meeting he had, Stephen, I think he's mid-40s now.
Yeah.
With Savio's sister. And she actually came to his home, and she said, I have to be honest, I've hated you for a long time. But he said to her, look, we were told it was an accident. And he said, I never believed it was anything else because, as my father was telling me it was an accident. He said, but once Stacy disappeared, then we started, because by then he's an adult, Stephen.
Yeah.
He's probably, close to 30, and he's starting to put the pieces together. But at the end they hugged, and I guess they become friends. But he seems like a really stand-up guy.
Wow.
He certainly does. And again, thankfully this was not this illness that his father had. We'll call it an illness. I don't know what else we can call it. A profound illness. I mean, it can be called evil too, but illness didn't corrupt him. And actually, what a beautiful ongoing story. Then I'm glad you mentioned this, Benny. I didn't know that aspect.
Yeah, me either.
So, I think
and the funny thing is, if you close your eyes and you listen to him, it's like, holy shit, that's true.
Yeah,
sounds a lot like him. There is a resemblance, not an identical, but you can tell he's, it's his son.
Sure.
But I mean, if you he's very, very, I mean, he's a stand-up guy, and he really,
it's beautifully answered the call.
Without saying his father's a piece of shit, he says it and he says it very diplomatically. But yeah, taking care of those kids really says a lot. One thing I wanted to bring up before I forget is, he had 5 sons, and the last one was a daughter, and he named her Lacey. So Lacey Peterson.
Yeah.
I wonder, I don't know what year I forgot what year Lacey Peterson disappeared, but I believe that already happened. So I wonder if that's just a coincidence or.
It was in the early aughts in both cases. I think it's all this started happening around the same time frame, I think, give or take. So
I believe.
Yeah.
I think Scott Lacey disappeared, I think, in 2002.
Yeah, that sounds right. Right. Yeah.
And I think this child was born in like 2004, 2005. I mean, it could just. I mean, it's a nice name. It's a very common name. It could be just coincidence. I just thought it was kind of odd that here's somebody who's offing people, and he names his daughter Lacey Peterson.
I know.
Yeah.
That is kind of weird.
It is very weird.
But again,
it's not that common of a name. I do not personally know anybody named Lacey.
Well,
I don't either.
I do. I mean, Lacey Underall from Caddyshack.
Cagney and Lacey.
Yeah.
Right.
Jerry Lacey was an actor, I believe, in Dark Shadows. So there's Jerry Lacey, I remember.
Okay. Yeah, Lacey Underalls.
There you go.
Must be quite the change from dreary Manhattan. I'm getting really tired of having fun all the time. She played a great. Cindy Morgan was so good in that movie. I mean, everybody was great in that movie, but she played that part to absolute perfection. I couldn't imagine anybody playing it any better.
Most definitely. Yeah, it's so funny. There are a lot of unheralded actors and actresses out there who just do something But
I know she did a movie called Tron after that, which I've never seen.
I've only seen references to Tron. I mean, I would have been a kid when it was out, and likely it probably even just spooked me or made me think too weird. I don't know. It just struck me from the previews, but I could be wrong.
But nothing, not a whole lot after that. Same thing with Danny Noonan, right? It was Michael O'Keefe.
Noonan.
I mean, he did play on Roseanne for a bit, right? He had that gig as the sister's husband, right?
Oh, gee, I think you're right. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, the main guys were icons. I mean, Rodney and Bill Murray and Ted Knight and Chevy Chase. I mean, they were all the absolute icons. But
Rodney still is the best. Oh, hey, you know who died in December? And of course, we lived through such crazy times that so much falls through, that we miss. The amazing Kreskin. Do you recall that name? He was
clairvoyant guy, right?
Yeah. He was on Johnny Carson, I think, 88 times. He was on Mike Douglas like 100 times. He was on Steve Allen. He was on David Letterman, and he did some amazing things. Johnny Carson actually named him amazing after that. He was never known as that.
Right.
He just passed away
in December.
How old?
He was 89. He 89 had quite a good run.
Was up there.
He was performing actually up until his final days, and I could kick myself because he came to Worcester right out here just like 2 years ago, and if I had known, I'd have gone and see him. But
I would have too. I didn't know.
Yeah, he did some amazing things, I'll tell you, and Yeah, so look that up in terms of old Carson and shows like that. It's very entertaining and just again amazing, just like Amazing
The
Preston.
only other amazing. Do you remember the Amazing Matrano?
No.
Oh, really? All right.
No.
Art
It's a
Matrano.
paisano, huh?
Art Matrano was also in was it Police Academy movies?
Did he make the noises? No.
No, that was Michael Winslow.
It was Michael Winslow. That's right.
Art Matrano. I'll find you guys a clip of Art Matrano. I got the Amazing Matrano. It was so bad that it was funny.
No kidding. I like that sort of thing. Yeah.
Jason's saying the guy who played Noonan also played Tim Two Man Taylor's brother in Home Improvement. I didn't know that.
Oh, very good. Very good. I did not know that either. What a good reference there.
Yeah, so you got a couple of gigs out of it. But
yeah.
So, in closing, I thought Scott Peterson was the ultimate as far as a smug, arrogant jackass. But I don't know. I think this guy might have him beat. What do you guys think?
Let me tell you, he could be the crazy uncle once removed of Scott Peterson. This Peterson here, Yeah. It's
definitely like a 1 and a 1A in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, they're running neck and neck, absolutely. But I hope they can come to some resolution and find the body and give everyone some peace.
I just hope neither one of them see the light of day.
Oh God, no!
Because we were talking about Scott Peterson possibly getting a new trial, which that would be why. I mean, how could anybody be more guilty than that guy? Why waste why waste taxpayer dollars, and more importantly, why put Lacey's family through that again? That's horrible.
Yeah. I know that. I feel so bad for the families. I mean, it's just awful what they have to go through.
Yeah. Well, guys, let's put a wrap on this one, and I want to thank.
That's right. Oh yes.
In the chat room or the grand jury, whatever they want to be, as well as the millions
and millions
of true crime fans around the world. We're never going to run out of pieces of shit to talk about. So make sure, there is no shortage of pieces of shit. So make sure you subscribe to the Money and the Power YouTube channel so you won't miss any notifications. Don't forget to join Dan and Benny in the Ring. This week is going to be on Thursday night at 7:00. Dan and I'm very excited about this. Dan and I are going to be joined by the one and only Karen McDaniel. That should be a very good interview. Really looking forward to that.
Oh, wow. Me too. I'm looking forward.
Yes. Yeah. The widow of the legendary Wahoo McDaniel. I mean, that woman has so many stories. And just a nice lady. I
love her accent too.
So often, and just salt of the earth. And
I love her accent. She's salt of the earth. She's awesome, and that southern sound.
Got what was that thing? When the kid said, "It's shake and bake," and I helped. She's got the shake and bake, and I helped accent. I love it.
I love that too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So for the bad girl and El Presidente, this is the Playa telling everyone to stay safe. See you next crime. Night all.
Good night.